So hello again everyone. My previous video about WWDC ended up being pretty large, so I broke this part separately. I'm going to talk about iPadOS, which coincidentally or not is also the source of some of the controversy I'm talking about, and I'll touch upon it in this video. First of all, if you're new here, my name's Andre. I'm a tech enthusiast. I do tech videos for fun. Welcome to the channel. Now let's get on with it. Like for iOS 15, iPadOS 15 will similarly support every single iPad that currently works on iPadOS 14. The same caveat applies here like in iOS. Head on to Apple's webpage. On iPadOS 15, there's again this tiny lettering at the bottom of the page which states the same thing. A lot of the FaceTime related functionalities that are coming in iPadOS 15 as well will depend on you having a device that has the A12 chip inside. So a lot of the older iPads again are being left behind in terms of the feature set being delivered in the latest OS version. So again, keep this in mind. If you're shopping for a used iPad in the coming months, make sure that it has at least the A12 chip inside. This could very well mean that yes, all of these older iPads still get iPadOS 15, but critically they may be dropped on iPadOS 16. As 15 is basically a rehash, a revamp of the 14 software, iPadOS 16 may actually be a bigger departure in terms of hardware requirements, and we may very well see these older iPads not getting that version of software. Again, I might be wrong, that's just my impression, so just to stay on the safe side, if I were buying an iPad today, I would be looking at devices with the A12 chip inside and up. And now with the software improvements brought to iPadOS, which are enormous, and not quite. We're getting widgets, and that's it, pretty much, for all intents and purposes. Not quite, but pretty much that's the main gist of it. So widgets that are larger than previous, that you can put anywhere on the home screen, and you can move them around like Android has been doing for years. Yeah, they're useful, they're interesting, but again, this isn't something that I would qualify as a breakthrough feature. It's something that was needed though, don't get me wrong. Widgets needed an improvement, and I'm glad they did it, but it's not something critical. You also get an app library in the dock. You also get an app drawer like in iOS. And there's an improvement of multitasking. I've heard other creators saying that it's not going to suck as badly as before. That may actually be accurate. I kind of liked the way it looked, the new multitasking system. It's a little bit more intuitive than before and a little bit more fluid. Again, like in macOS, you get the notes improvements. You can use now mentions in notes. You can share notes with multiple people. Also, you're going to be able to install an application called Swift Playgrounds, which will allow you to develop apps for the iPad and the iPhone using Swift, this time on the iPad for the first time ever, which is pretty useful. I'm not into coding for Apple, so I don't know how this critical is for most developers. From what I've seen in a lot of conversation, a lot of people were actually wishing for Xcode, but that sadly didn't make the cut this time. And now to discuss the controversy part a little bit. I've seen a bunch of videos today from creators who are lamenting iPadOS 15, who are saying that iPadOS 15 is very poor, especially in relation to the recently launched M1 powered iPad Pro. Basically, these are the same creators that have hyped up the M1 iPad Pro until even a couple of days ago, recommending it as a laptop replacement to a certain degree, saying it's going to be amazing, it's much more powerful than before, and creating this wave of hype. And now these same people, and I'm not going to name any names, I don't want to be controversial on this channel, but it ticked me off and I have to share this. And now these same people who created all of this hype, they're going back and doing hype the other way around, saying, oh, I'm returning now the M1 powered iPad Pro, it's terrible, don't buy it, there's no reason to upgrade to it. Like, I find that a little bit disingenuous to say the least, and I'm putting it as mildly as I can. I mean, a couple of days ago you were recommending it or doing all of these comparison videos with other tech products from Apple and lauding the M1 powered iPad Pro, and now it's trash. Again, like before, the truth is somewhere in the middle. First up, like I said in one of my previous videos, do not buy a product, any product, not just tech products, based on the promise of future improvements. In this case, future software. That's not a good idea. You evaluate the product when you purchase it based on the condition it is in at the day you purchase it. If it gets improved in the future, that's absolutely fantastic. We all want that. But you also need to make sure that you like it at the moment when you purchase it, okay? Because if you're buying it based on your future hopes, this is a surefire way to get buyer's remorse. Remember what I said in my previous video. Apple's vision of iPadOS may not necessarily coincide with mine or your vision or anyone else's, and there may be very different. That's why you have a release that basically hinges on the existence of widgets, whereas people were waiting for Final Cut Pro and a host of other pro level apps that just didn't arrive. So, what do we learn from this? Never buy based on hype. Do not buy into the hype and never buy products based on future promises. Now back to the said M1 iPad Pro that I've also talked about on the channel a lot. I've pre-ordered it. I'll probably hopefully get it this millennia at some point. I don't know. Is the M1 iPad Pro trash? No. iPadOS has been improved. Not to the level we would have wanted as enthusiasts, but it has been improved. It's not worse off than 3 days ago. If you purchased it, congratulations. You have the most powerful tablet computer out there that's still waiting for its own software to catch up to its powerful hardware. No problem there. Do I think pro level apps are still going to come to the M1 iPad Pro? Of course, it may very well take time. How much time? Well, you're just gonna have to ask Tim Cook. But if you want pro level apps, you need to understand that those apps that have high quality and deliver great functionalities, well, those take time to develop and test properly. Would you be happier with a half-baked, buggy release? Probably not, because most of these pro-level apps are going to be paid apps. So nobody's going to be happy if they pay $50 for something that doesn't work properly. In addition to that, I've heard someone comment that something like that. Okay, for another year, we're set. iPadOS is going to be trash. It's not going to be a laptop replacement. And I disagree with that profoundly. Again, I'm going to reference to one of the most important iPadOS releases in recent years, iPadOS 13.4, which brought the whole enhanced mouse and keyboard support functionality. And as the name implies, that was a mid-year release during iPadOS 13. So if you think that this is the final version of iPadOS 15, you're wrong. It's just now going into beta. It will improve continuously until release, and after that we're gonna get multiple patches. But my main idea is do not buy into the hype. I dislike some of these creators. I understand why they're doing it, why they're doing clickbaity videos and stuff, but I still don't like it because, again, it's disingenuous to put it mildly, okay? If we're honest, do not buy into hype. Don't buy products based on hype. Buy the products that you need, that you like. Ideally, test them out before. At least go to a store and check one out. See if it's what you want, what you need. And whenever you're buying something, check out the reviews. Remember, we live in the 21st century. So this means you don't have to listen to Andre or whoever else on YouTube. You can listen to 57 different people, read a bunch of articles, read reviews left on forums by users who already have the product, and then you can get a very complete picture. One person's input does not necessarily equate everyone else's, and it's up to you to find as much information about the product you're about to purchase. Just a little bit of food for thought. Now that the rant is over, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.